Carmel, and sports cars. The perfect marriage of beauty and the beasts. It's a spectacular setting for some California dreaming in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship next. After the season opened with the 2 longest races of the year in Florida, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship is now sprinting up the California coast. Our last race, the Roar by the Shore on the historic streets of Long Beach, saw brothers Ricky and Jordan Taylor in their Corvette DP hold off the 2 Action Express entries and earn their first win of the season. In GTLM, Corvette was going for the 100th win and 3rd in a row until things got heated.
Oh, gets turned.
There goes
Unbelievable.
Tandy. Now we head north to legendary Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, one of the world's truly great tracks with its iconic and often too inviting corkscrew. And it's also a venue where we've seen Porsche and Corvette tempers flare before. What will happen today? Find out right now as we're ready for sports car racing on FS1. Welcome everybody to round 4 of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, the Continental Tire Monterey Grand Prix, powered by Mazda. Great to have you with us. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish. And folks, we have sort of a unique format of racing for you today. The 4 classes in the WeatherTech Championship split into 2 two-hour races. And we start off, Cal, with the prototype and the GT Le Mans classes. It's an all-pro shootout. Yeah, we're still on the west coast of California, but we're a bit north. The environment's totally different. That opened the door for some of the other competitors?
It really does, Greg. We go from a street fight to the flow and dynamic of a circuit that demands balance and downforce. Now, historically, this has been a great track for the P2 machines. And whereas the Mazdas maybe teased us with their potential at Long Beach, so far this weekend, they have been dominant at their adopted home circuit. And let's not lose focus on a very tight prototype championship with 3 teams separated by a mere 4 points.
And you talk about that championship. This is the 4th round. What happened in the 3 previous ones? Here's a look back. In the prototype class, 2016 started with a bang for the number 2 Tequila Patron Ligier Honda. At the finish in the season opener at Daytona, it was the 22-year-old Pippo Durrani behind the wheel. And after 24 hours of intense racing, he took the checkers ahead of the number 10 Corvette DP to give Honda its first Rolex 24 win.
In Sebring, Durrani did it again, passing the number 31 Whelen Corvette DP with 6 minutes to go to sweep the Florida Endurance Classics. Long Beach was a different story, however, as the Corvette DPs dominated the 100-minute sprint. In the end, it was the number 10 from Wayne Taylor Racing taking top honors.
In GT Le Mans, the recent theme is controversy. Corvette also won the opening 2 rounds with a thrilling 1-2 finish in the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and in Sebring it was much the same as the number 4 Corvette beat the new BMW M6 to take the top step once again.
In Long Beach, however, it was Porsche who showed strength and led early until both cars were tagged for speeding on pit road. That moved the Vets into the lead. A late caution closed the gap, and with less than 4 minutes to go, Makoviecki in the number 912, Stuart Milner in the number 4 Corvette, allowing teammate Nick Tandy through for the win. Controversy.
Now you have to wonder if that one's done yet. We're going to step away for a moment, but when we come back, we'll hear from our pit reporters and a couple of key players, and we'll have the green flag. Surf's up.
You know, racing is all about perseverance. It's about hanging in there with an eye towards the future, and there's several teams in this WeatherTech paddock that have done just that over the years. Take Delta Wing, for example. They have worked hard and improved that car immensely. And the guys at Mazda Motorsports, well, no one's worked any harder, and there's no better place for them to perform than right here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Starting 2 years ago with a stock block diesel engine, they've transferred now to a petrol power plant. And Jonathan Bomarito, your teammate, Tristan Nunez, puts it on the pole. How special, how important is that here at your home track?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was huge for everybody with the team. Tristan on the pole, Tom Long, P2. So 2 Mazdas on the front row to start here at Mazda Raceway. Huge for the team, for Mazda. Like you said, I mean, these guys work so hard. I'm honored to be here to see what we can do.
And a pole is special, but how special would a victory be here?
Man, you know, how much energy and passion that I've seen in this team over the years. I don't think you probably aren't going to see a dry eye in this pit cart. So I hope we can do it. We've been over everything with a fine-tooth comb to be there at the end of this race and try to be on the top step.
Well, the pole was the first victory. Now they're going to look for that checkered flag. Let's go down to a guy who enjoys pre-race more than anybody. That's Justin Bell.
Of course I do, Brian. Where else would you want to be on a glorious Sunday? The sun is shining. I love Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. And you know what? The cars are so beautiful. They look almost serene, which, of course, is a bit misguiding. Because remember, these drivers are gladiators of horsepower, and these are fighting machines. And sometimes it can end in tears. And back at Long Beach, boy, did it end in tears for the number 4 car. We can't have a chat with Tommy, but Oliver Gavin, that last lap right at the end with the Porsche, that just reminds us how incredibly close this racing is.
Oh yeah, it's spectacular, it's hard, it's all out fighting. It was a real bare knuckle fight there at Long Beach. I'm sure we're going to have some more of that today, and we're ready for it. We'll take on anybody.
I mean, people forget it's a little bit corporate sometimes, but you guys are men against men, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah, you have to be. You know, there's no quarter given, and you've got to be full attack all the time. Tommy and I are ready for the fight today in our C7R. It's going to be all out.
And of course, don't forget, 2009, it was Corvette's turn to be the protagonist in a very rough ending to a race.
This is a battle royale. Magnussen all over the rear bumper. Bergmeister having to drive a bit defensively. Look at this move!
I think it's going to work.
Man, this battle is intense.
Here comes Magnussen, run around the outside.
Oh, they bumped! Magnussen, he's not done. He's going to try the exit. Now he bumps him. Bergmeister drives him to the wall, and he crashes him big.
Oh, they're not going to like that one.
Bergmeister survives that battle.
Well, there's certainly that bit of history, but Cal, there's history this season, too, at Sebring. Remember, Jan Magnussen got hit by Kevin Estre in a Porsche, stuffed into the wall. This is a fierce competition, as Justin says.
And I love it, Greg. You expect this kind of intensity in this class GTLM. It's a high-stakes game with the manufacturers making these huge investments, and the rivalries are just going to ramp up even further as the 4 GTs are now showing true race-winning potential, having qualified 2nd and 3rd here before they head to Le Mans. This is going to be a real barnstormer here today.
Yeah, and interestingly, the BMWs, who were so strong earlier, they're struggling just a little bit. It's cyclical, that's for sure. Now, Cal, let's take a look at our Ford track map.
Well, let's take a look at the magical location in Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. It's just under 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns, about 26 gear changes per lap. It's very smooth, low grip. Key to speed here is momentum. Legit overtaking opportunities are in turn 2 and turn 11, and a key corner is turn 6. Getting through there clean for a good run up the Rahal straightaway to the infamous corkscrew, and then the plunge over the hill. This is a mega place.
Boy, isn't it just. Let's take a look at our WeatherTech weather update. The nice thing about running here, oftentimes, it's easy, beautiful, and that's what it is today. Low 70s, 50% humidity, a little thick, but a nice breeze to keep things comfortable, and it should be a fabulous, fabulous afternoon for racing. We're going to show you now our Continental Tire starting grid. It'll be up and across the top of the screen, so have a look and find your favorite competitors. And as we do that, Cal, let's look forward to the WeatherTech keys to victory. You've mentioned it a couple of times, so the first one I'm going to call momentum.
Exactly. That's what the P2 cars need, and that's what they had to get that front row starting spots here today. And they're going to be helped today. It's only a 2-class race. Don't be foolish. It's a one-stopper potential, particularly for GTLM cars. And eye on the prize. Think about that prototype championship. 3 teams separated by a mere 4 points. Dane Cameron's scenario, he qualified 3rd. Does he go after those Mazdas in the early laps, or does he just think about the guys he's fighting in the championship right now that sit behind him on the grid?
Well, if he has a chance to do something, Cal, what is it? How can he go about that?
Well, with the Daytona prototype, it's over 300 pounds heavier than the P2 machine. So that means that the tire's going to come to life a little bit quicker. So if he has the opportunity, he may try and make some moves in these opening laps here.
And interestingly, it was Oz Negri in the Mike Shake Racing number 60 that topped the morning warm-up. So they, who have been struggling just a little bit, may have found a bit of pace as well. And we are about to start the second of the 2 pace laps at Cal. I kind of alluded to it. We're seeing the BMWs there. They've been struggling here this weekend after being fast in the previous races.
Well, they've been fast this year. They finished 1-2, admittedly, with a different car here last year. But there's a new Michelin tire, the tire they're going to run at Le Mans. And it's really affecting the different manufacturers in different races, pros and cons. BMW, Porsche, they really seem to be struggling. The 2 Porsches and the number 100 BMW have actually done a tire change after qualifying because they've qualified so poorly. I know the BMW situation, they've gone to a different compound. Not sure about Porsche. Maybe they just wanted fresh rubber to start this race on, but they are definitely struggling here this weekend.
Meanwhile, and you talked about it just a little bit ago, the Ford GTs, we've seen pace from them, particularly at Daytona, you know, developmental problems, but here they are just flat out fast. Is that experience with the new Le Mans tire that they're running here?
Well, I think it suits their car very well. Talking to some of the drivers over the course of this weekend, they said, yeah, the car has come alive a little bit. A lot of people have talked about this balance of performance in terms of not wanting to get the car kind of handicapped before they head to Le Mans for the big race. And the boys have been pushing really hard. They said at Long Beach, that's basically all we had. They couldn't get on the podium here, but this racetrack, it's a lot smoother. It suits that platform. The tire is working, and you're just talking a few tenths that will take you from the back of this GTLM field to the front.
And you talked about it. This track is a momentum track, but it doesn't have big top end where horsepower is everything. On the pole in GT Le Mans, a sterling lap from Dan Serra in the Scuderia Corsa Ferrari 488.
Yeah, and they're just doing a limited program. They're doing the North American Endurance Championship plus the California race. They've got a huge group of their clients here this weekend. Giacomo Mattioli is really excited about Daniel Serra putting this car on the pole. The 32-year-old Brazilian, he's got great heritage. His dad I knew from a long time ago, Chico Serra, did some Formula One races, 3-time Brazilian stock car champion. He's got good bloodlines there behind the wheel of that red Ferrari that will lead this field to green.
Boy, he showed it with a superb lap. Meanwhile, pace car is in. And here comes our prototype field once again. Tristan Nunez to the inside, the right of your screen. An amazing lap in qualifying. And on his shoulder, his teammate, Tom Long in the number 70. But now it is time to get serious. 2 hours of racing, and we are green. And immediately Nunez drops the hammer, and Cameron trying to keep Taylor at bay, and it looks like he may have done it, but a great move there as well by Fittipaldi.
Yeah, Fittipaldi, a great start. He goes to the outside of his teammate, the Action Express car, side by side.
Meanwhile, GT Le Mans starts. Serra leads them up in the Ferrari as the green flies. Watch them down into the Andretti hairpin, and a big move by the Corvette.
Wow, Tommy Milner is on form this year. Look at that power move to the outside. He's got by 1 Ford. Can he make it 2? Briscoe and he go side by side.
No, Briscoe actually drops a wheel. Didn't hurt him too much.
Dirk Mueller coming back. He tucks back inside of that Corvette. So Milner's struggling for grip there after being pushed wide. Mueller takes advantage.
Oh, and a big hit. The Porsche down to the inside and got into the side of the 25 BMW, Cal.
The 25 car's had a strong start to this year. The 100 car can't seem to catch a break, but look at that, the Porsches and the BMWs battling out at the back of this GTLM field. Another one runs wide.
That was the 912 shoving the team car, the 911, off the outside.
That's Tandy. He's not going to like this. They were teammates at Le Mans last year, winning overall. They're going at it hard in the opening stages of this race.
Oh, and here comes, this is Vilander in the Risi Ferrari attacking on the number 4. May have been just a touch there, but not much.
That was close. That was really close. Aggressive move, but he gave him some racing room. Great job by Tommy Milner.
Yeah, I wonder if the 912 said, you know what, I moved him out of the way for you at Long Beach, now I'm going to move you out of the way. We need points too. And there is Cameron sitting in the 5th spot, and he is being attacked right now by Sean Rahal in the Delta Wing, which here on this smooth track showing some pace.
Well, Dane Cameron was under attack by Christian Fittipaldi. We switched to the GTLM battle. I think he must have got shoved wide there, and certainly both Taylor and Fittipaldi have taken advantage. Not what they needed. They shook up their driver lineup with Cameron doing the qualifying chores, and it's backfired on them a little bit in the early going.
Riding on board here with the number 4. Again, that is Mr. Milner, and it looks as though he definitely, yeah, Vilander able to sneak by him. As you said, it was close, but he finally got through.
Let's take a look here. Big dive down. We said it's one of the legitimate overtaking opportunities. He gives him no room. And our championship leader goes for a ride there.
Well, we talked about it. This is aggressive racing. The pressure in this class is just immense.
Look at that. The BMW is pushing hard there. That's Dirk Werner all over the curbs there as he climbs the hill. That very important corner, turn 6.
Milner now able to stabilize things just a little bit. Sitting in that 5th spot in class, teammate Magnussen behind him. Then it's Bamber, and then the 25 BMW of Dirk Werner.
Things settling down here a little bit. Serra continues to lead in that pole-winning Ferrari, but he's now going to feel the heat from Briscoe. Dirk Mueller, the Ford's looking really strong. That battle at the back, that was intense. Tire temps, pressure should be up into their sweet spot right now, and it's about this stage of the game, Greg, that you really understand what sort of balance, what decisions you made with the setup, how they are working on race day.
I think a lot of eyes are on the BMW here. Again, it doesn't run at Le Mans. This car doesn't run in GTE at all, so they're the ones who have been struggling mightily with that tire. You said they've looked at different compounds, see what they've settled on.
Yeah, and you think about it, it's Lucas Luhr at the back of this GTLM field. How many times he won here? 7 times. He knows this racetrack so well, has had so much success. But again, it's just really showcasing how competitive this class is right now. If you're a little bit off, the other guys will take advantage.
Well, Cal, some argy-bargy on the opening lap here. Now watch this, the Porsche, right?
Coming out of turn 3. Oh, yeah, he just went over on him. That was definitely a little bit of an aggressive move there by Earl Bamber.
Here it is from another angle. Looks a little bit more intense here.
Yeah, he just went over. He's on a very shallow line into that corner. He tried to make room, but you can't just run into someone who's there. He just clouded Dirk Werner.
And he really wasn't done because Tandy got that run and was on the outside exiting 5, and he ushered him off the track as well. So pretty intense stuff, but that is exactly what we were anticipating here. Up front, it continues to be the Scuderia Corsa Ferrari of Serra in GT Le Mans. In prototype, the 2 Mazdas at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. The pits are smiling. The city that John Steinbeck made famous, now, of course, an absolute tourist destination. Monterey, California. Welcome back, everybody. And we are watching there the number 4. That's the points-leading Corvette in GT Le Mans of Tommy Milner. And he, after dropping back a little bit, running wide, or getting ushered wide a little bit by that 62 right up in front, has now reeled him back in again. That top 5 have made a little bit of a break. Now, here's a look at Dane Cameron, and he had started 3rd, but Cal, back in 5th, and we think we may have found what happened.
Well, let's take a look at some replays here. He went side by side with Christian Fittipaldi down into the brake zone for turn 2 on that opening lap. We're not sure, but ultimately as he comes out of the corner, there they go. There's a little touch between the 2 teammates. Not a lot of love lost there. I think Cameron just gets pushed to the outside. And further around that lap, Ricky Taylor took advantage. There you see it. Dane kind of gave him the lane, but it's tight there. It's a typical area where you want to wash out. The front wants to run out wide there, and Christian had kind of planted himself on his flank, and they traded paint a little bit.
You can see, obviously, on cold tires, even though the Corvette DPs come up a little bit quicker, still a bit squirrely out there on throttle and the like, and cost him as he has slipped back into that 5th spot. But speaking of slipping back, only the last couple of laps has anybody gone into the 120s except the Mazdas.
Corkscrew problem.
Which had been in the 119s. Yeah, tires. Obviously somebody just attacked that curb a little bit too aggressively, Cal.
We're not 15 minutes into this race yet, so this will be a short caution procedure, which means the pit lane stays closed. So if anyone was thinking about topping up with fuel, they will not be allowed to do that. Basically, the first 15 minutes of the race, or any caution 15 minutes after a preceding caution, and then the last 30 minutes of the race, if you all got that, means we go to this shortened procedure, which really just speeds things up.
That was nice of the Porsche to clear the tire off. And as we're under the caution here, looking there at Sean Rahal, who qualified and starts in the Delta Wing. But I believe, JB, you have the co-driver that'll be taking over, and boy, has she been quick here.
Boy, has she been quick. Catherine, that was funny. Just as I was setting up the interview, we said a tire had come off a car, and we looked at each other and realized that we probably can't afford to lose any tire off your car. But it has been quick this week, and you've been absolutely blinding fast.
Yeah, it's been a lot closer, you know, this whole year. Daytona, leading Daytona, and then even Long Beach, we were a lot closer, and I think it's a development process. We've developed the car, and now we're in with a shout, which is definitely a nice position to be in.
So this track is demanding anyway. The corkscrew visibility is, I remember it from the Viper, I couldn't see the corner going in. What's it like for you looking down that torpedo?
You can't see a thing, so you're basically just counting and just going off of experience, really, and it's the same every lap. But it's one of the coolest tracks we race at. It's a beautiful area, it's a really cool track, and yeah, we're fast, so I'm happy.
And she's British and fast, and we do like that, don't we, Calvin?
I love it, JB. And just a shout out to their engineer, Katie Crawford, who's not with them this weekend. Many of you recall from our Long Beach show back on March 29th, she was rushed to a hospital in Italy with a brain tumor diagnosed. She's now home in Charlotte and continues to recover. So, Katie, we're wishing you well, love. We look forward to seeing you back on pit lane.
No, we sure are. We miss you a bunch. So we're going to step away for just a moment while we're under caution. Again, Nunez, Long, Fittipaldi, your top three overall in the prototype. Sarah in the Ferrari, and then the two Ford GTs. Quick. We'll be back. High above Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, you get an idea of the absolutely beautiful topography here. And we are just about to go back to green. The field going through that iconic corkscrew 10-story drop from the apex down to the bottom. It is a spectacular piece of real estate, and we're about ready to go back to green. And Cal, on the one hand, obviously for Fittipaldi, Taylor, Cameron, all those guys, that 10-plus second margin the Mazdas had already made up has been cut back. You'd think, well, for Dial, that's great for them, but he needed this caution to have it at 16 minutes because with it being inside 15, no waiver up.
Yeah, they missed the grid cutoff, so they had to start from pit lane. There's an automatic then further rule that means you've got to drive down pit lane so you don't get a fuel advantage. So they're at the back of the whole field, and he's got to fight his way through this GTLM pack. So really going to be a long day for those guys.
Well, and that battle's going to start now for him to fight through as we are back to green here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca.
Watch the Delta Wing. Yep. He's got a run on Dane Cameron. Sean Rahal, the young American, looks to the outside of Dane Cameron in the Wheeling Corvette.
And for just an instant, I thought Ryan Briscoe might have a run on Sarah in the Ferrari for the lead in GT Le Mans, but Sarah had him covered just enough.
So you see DL making a couple of moves there at the back end of the GTLM field. Ricky Taylor, a good run through 4, trying to put some pressure on Christian Fittipaldi. And let's not forget the championship scenario. The 5-car leads by 3 points over the 31, and that 10-car who's really close there as they come out of turn 5. They sit third in the championship, just 1 point further back.
Boy, he had great speed at the apex, didn't he? He had to almost lift, it looked like his run was so good on Fittipaldi.
Car sat on the pole here last year. The Konica Minolta team really came in here, charged up. Dane Cameron just pipped them to the fastest time outside of the Mazdas that really seem to be in the league of their own here on this track configuration.
Well, it's interesting in qualifying because normally you see Curran qualify the 31 Wheeling car, and they just decided to change it up a little bit and put Dane in.
Well, Action Express, I mean, they've been so strong the last couple of years, coming off 2 straight championships with the number 5 car. But on the West Coast last year, they really struggled at Long Beach and here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. They did a lot of testing to try and work out what the problem was. They were stronger at Long Beach, but they felt here this weekend, we don't have enough pace. So the 31 team elected to start Dane Cameron, and then they may do a double driver change. Just depends how this race pans out, but there's going to be 2 starts potentially for these prototypes. They'll put Eric Curran in and then see how the plan pans out for the last stage of the race.
Boy, Ricky Taylor is in attack mode. He not only has got to the back of the 55, he is there and attacking. And down in the pits, a nervous brother, I'm thinking.
Yeah, Jordan Taylor sitting here watching Ricky out on the racetrack. Now, Jordan, this team has been so strong here over the past 3 years. I think you've led more than half the laps. But right now, what do you guys have for the Mazdas? Because I'm looking at the timesheets, and they are very, very quick.
Yeah, well, I mean, in 5 minutes, we were 10 seconds back on that first start. So if it went green, we'd probably get lapped. But we just got to run our own race. It's kind of, we're battling with the Corvettes right now. so we're kind of second with the Corvettes, and that's what we can really focus on right now, is trying to beat them and maximize our points out of here.
Maximize the points. Everybody talks about it. There's a championship at the end. You got to get as many as you can when you can.
Well, they said they got to really maximize the points. We said that's one of the keys to victory, Greg. Eye on the prize, and that is the championship. If you can't fight those Mazdas today, just keep thinking about the guys you're really in the thick of it. But those Mazdas, okay, they're not just going to be strong here. They're showing true pace. They're going to be strong everywhere this year. So suddenly these could be the guys you're chasing in the championship at the end of the year too.
Well, I think that was proved out at Long Beach, wasn't it? Because if there was, one of the tracks they were going to struggle on, you'd think it would be there. They were quick. They topped a practice session. What, finished 4th and 5th?
Yeah, they ran up in the top 2 at one stage of the race. So, yeah, they certainly had speed on that racetrack, which is not ideally suited. With these P2 machines, they really generate a lot of downforce, but they need to run the car exceptionally low to the ground. That's how you generate the most grip. And obviously on a street circuit with the bumps, you've got to raise the ride height. That spoils the aero a little bit. But right here, they are perfectly suited. And what a day this could be. This could be a really emotional victory for this team, but there's a long way to go.
And do remember that when Nunez comes in for the driver change, we heard from Jonathan Bomarito up at the top. I don't think anybody knows this track better than J-Bomb. Graduated from Palma High School in Salinas and really started everything in his racing career right here.
Yeah, he's going to be really, really quick. So they've just got to execute. And the one thing they've really been focused on, a couple of tough years where they really tried to prove that Sky Active diesel. It was a great program, but didn't have the pace to go for victory. They've really refined and ticked all of the boxes, the pit stops, the execution of all of their protocols. They've really refined. This is a well-oiled machine with the Speed Source group there, led by Sylvain Tremblay. Don't expect them to stumble here today. They are a solid group, and they have pace now.
And there's a look at the GT Le Mans class with a fast approaching Ryan Dial onto the back of the Risi Ferrari of Tony Vilander. There he's going to go through, and that will get him through now. And he only has to get by Sarah, and then should there be another caution, he would be right back up where he wants to be at this point. Early in the race, Cal, in GT Le Mans, I mean, this is only a 2-hour race. You don't want to get that split for too long, obviously.
No, you really don't. And for Ryan Dial, he needs to clear that GTLM field, which he's just got one car to do, the pole-sitting Ferrari. And then he ideally needs another caution, then he'd be back in the game. But they have been struggling for pace here. This is the defending race champions. They won here last year with Richard Westbrook and Michael Valiente. They also won back in 2012 with Westy and Garcia. They seem to have a setup for this racetrack, but this weekend it just has not been working.
Who's the engineer for the 90. First of all, they're back there because they missed the reconnaissance lap, so they had to start from pit lane. And if you start from pit lane, you have to do a drive-through penalty because you're saving fuel by sitting there. So that's why they're back. The pace on the weekend hasn't been there, and what they discovered was the differential settings just weren't what they needed. They made a change overnight. They think that's going to give them a much better race car, but it's just something that got overlooked throughout the last couple of days of testing and qualifying.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see now that he's cleared those GT Le Mans cars, Cal, what kind of speed everybody else in the non-Mazda class are running in the low 121s right now.
Yeah, it certainly is, and it puts a lot of focus on the engineering squad there at the 90 team, and that is led by Ricky Cameron, who's Dane Cameron's father. So that's always a great dynamic when you've got father and son going hard at it in terms of competition, one a driver and one an engineer on a competitive team.
In this battle now in GT Le Mans, those top 4 have sort of split now, driven away from Milner just a little bit. There he just appears for briefly in the bottom of the screen.
Milner looks a little bit tougher here in race conditions than what we saw in practice and qualifying, but even so, we talk about this new Michelin tire that's been used here to give the team some experience before they head to Le Mans. It really seems to be suiting these mid-engine cars from Ferrari and Ford.
There's the climb up the hill. There's that little transition left, then to the right to set up for the corkscrew.
The other thing is that both Ferrari and Ford had their factory teams in operation with this Michelin tire at Silverstone a couple of weeks ago, Greg. So that information flow is back and forth across the water. So they can certainly give these teams a little bit of lead time in what to look for in setup, what adjustments to make. And I think that's being showcased here this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Coward, you just hit it on the head. Of course, data. It's transfer of data, communication, and definitely for Ford, having that information, they're the newest kids on the block, but they had the most recent experience on these tires. And of course, same for Ferrari. They're driving over there, but their mid-engine format really suits their car here. But of course, temperature. Let's think about that, Cal. It is way hotter here at the start of the race than we had throughout the rest of the weekend. There is just a gentle breeze instead of a head-on full assault, which was really very tough on the aerodynamics. So what's going to happen over the course of a stint? That is where you're going to really find the cars come into their own. The teams and drivers and engineers, they have no data on what a full tank load is going to look like here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. And as for BMW, I'm going to throw this in right now. I spoke to the drivers, all 4 of them at lunch and or breakfast, and they were pretty dejected. Their car does not handle at all here on those Le Mans tires. So if you're wondering why BMW are lagging a bit, it's because literally the format layout of their car on these tires, they say they might as well be on ice skates.
Yeah, and then they threw the dice out there a little bit, JB, in terms of switching compounds on that BMW. And I know that a lot of these front-running cars started on the softer of the Michelin tires, and maybe in this long run, as you talk about, it's a lot warmer here in race conditions. You can't change the tires. You're allowed to change 1 tire after qualifying. Otherwise, 3 of the 4 tires that you qualify on, you have to start the race with. Otherwise, you go to the back of the grid. So for the Porsches and the BMWs, they did have that advantage in terms of changing their tires, and maybe they've made a better suit to these race day conditions.
Now the Porsche's closing a little bit now onto the back of Magnussen. And you know, I would have to think you can't lay everything off on the tires. This is a track that a car with great balance really can excel at, and that's a mid-engine car.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about balance. It's about downforce or grip in terms of more the GTLM cars. I mean, they have massive downforce as well. We're looking on board here with the 911. You see those massive rear diffusers that are out this year in GTLM. That creates massive downforce and grip for the cars. But the prototype machines, a bit more downforce induced, but these cars need it all to be working, and it's just a level of competition. We're just talking a few tenths, Greg. We're not talking about seconds here. Certainly the Mazda in the prototype has a big advantage, but in GTLM, a few tenths will put you either in the front or the back.
And speaking of the back, Bamber is on the back now of number 3, Jan Magnussen, as they start that climb up the hill. Right behind him, his teammate, the number 911 of Nick Tandy, as they make their way into the corkscrew. Oh, and again, a tire floating out into the middle of the track. So we'll see how this plays out when we come back to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Stay with us. You are riding on board with the poster boy for Mazda's Road to 24, Tristan Nunez, in the number 55 Mazda prototype, leading now over his teammate by less than a second, but they are almost 13 seconds up the road here at the Continental Tire Monterey Grand Prix, powered by Mazda. And Tristan, of course, has come right up through that ladder. He's been part of the Mazda system for a long time, before a Cooper Tire prototype Lights Championship winner, and now driving the prototype, getting that team their first prototype pole. Unbelievable stuff. It is.
The 20-year-old driver certainly strutting his stuff here this weekend. His last pole was right here at this racetrack in the GX class back in 2013. And Brian Till told us during the break he's in radio communication from the Mazda squad for the drivers to watch their rear tire degradation. Don't burn those rear tires off. We need to get to our fuel window before you need to hit pit lane. So think about it. Dropping back into GT Le Mans. And you can see that tire has been moved off to the side a little bit, so we're anticipating it is staying green. We're also seeing the 2 Porsches of Bamber and Tandy coming up just a little bit. And Justin Bell, obviously an important program from the folks at Porsche.
An important program, but firstly a big welcome to Klaus Zellmer for being here as a new president and CEO of Porsche, relatively new, and welcome to Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, where of course a big track for Porsche.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for welcoming me. It's a great pleasure to be here. This is where action takes place, especially for our brand. Motorsport is in our DNA, and I'm really impressed.
And I was here for Rennsport. Of course, you came on board just after Rennsport. I'm sorry you have to wait a few more years to sit till you see it. It was the best car gathering, regardless of brand, I've ever been to. Why does Porsche connect with their fans so much?
Well, I think it's got something to do with engaging the fans. Also in the past, I think where the brand originates in motorsport that people who have fuel in their blood, they are being infected with that virus, with that Porsche virus. And yes, Rennsport, everybody tells me about it, and I really missed something.
You missed it, but if drivers can't get the chance to race, as most people can't, thanks to the Porsche driving experience just down the road, relatively, we're excited for that to open. That's a big move.
Yeah, so I was just down there the other day. They on budget, on plan, time plan, so it looks all really good for a grand opening in the fall.
Well, Porsche, all the way to the senior management, is about passion for the brand. Welcome to the racetrack, and good luck over the rest of the season. Brian?
Think about passion. Nobody has any more passion than Bill Auberland down here at BMW. And Bill, you second in the championship right now, but when you came here, you got thrown a bit of a curveball. What are you guys doing to try to adapt to this new tire you've got?
It's tough. I think we've done all we can engineering-wise. These guys have worked tirelessly through the night to try to find the magic combination, and it's about strategy now. Try to get off those tires we were on, which was a certain compound. We've now switched to another one, and we're going to get out of sync with everybody else and see if we can kind of strategize our way to the front. It's really easy to get kind of down and long in the mouth or whatever you want to say, but let's keep things in perspective. I'm driving an amazing BMW M6 GTLM in Laguna Seca. It's a beautiful day. We're still second in the championship now. I see a lot of guys ahead of us. We'll figure it out. These guys are very smart. And between Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan, she's a sponsor, and Michelin, we will find a way. And we got a lot of races to get it back to the front.
I was going to ask him if they changed compound, but I didn't think he would tell me. But he volunteered it on his own.
Well, he offered up they changed compounds, but he was pretty tight-lipped on from what to what. That's pretty smart. And, folks, that happened while we were in break, if you're wondering when that stop occurred. And quickly, Cal, it was interesting to me, Justin's interview on the Porsche and the Rennsport. Another thing you can do with Rennsport is when you've got two factory drivers that have never run at a track, and Rennsport's there, you bring them in and let them lap. Those are the only laps that Bamber and Makowiecki have had at this place.
I know, and they're valuable laps because track time, with the classes being split this weekend, they did separate practice and qualifying sessions as well. Qualifying they always do separately, but it certainly minimized the track time a little bit, so that was a big aid for those guys in there. Oh, there's a battle there between the Vet and the Porsche once again, and the other Porsche comes back at the number 3 as well. Oh, Taylor's off. Taylor loses it down in turn 10. I'm not sure if there's other traffic involved.
Well,
currently third in the championship. I think he's stuck. He's high-sided. He's got the gravel spinning.
Boy,
what happened there?
Yeah. Full course, and now there is. Oh, boy.
Christian Fittipaldi.
The points leader.
Yeah, Fittipaldi was running ahead of Ricky Taylor, so maybe Ricky saw an opening and went for it down to the inside. This is incredible, and it's probably going to be tough for those cars to get out of there before they get a lap down, even with the help of a wrecker or some corner workers getting to them. They will probably go down a lap.
Well, and that gravel trap there, because of the speeds coming down the hill, is very deep and long, Cal. And so I think you're absolutely right. You can see the consternation on Wayne Taylor's face. And this is the caution, and now this is also the caution that Dial needed. He had just, let's take a look at what happened.
It's down in turn 10. Kind of a weird little corner. You kind of get in there into the apex. Let's take a look. Oh, Ricky Taylor has got by Christian Fittipaldi, and Christian just kind of sticks it back down there. That's just a little bit aggressive from this angle, Greg, on Christian's behalf. I'm not sure if he had just literally lost that position to Ricky and tries to fight back, and he just turns him.
You know what it looked like to me, Cal, was that when Christian stayed way down to the inside.
It was dirty.
It was dirt, yeah.
Yeah, you could see you're not going to have the grip, but here we go. So Christian's got it. Let's see what happens in turn 9. Oh, Ricky's really aggressive there. I think there's a little bit of argy-bargy there, and Christian is fired up, and he wants some of it back. Just two guys going at it hard, and we thought about keeping the eye on the prize as one of the WeatherTech keys to victory. These guys did not right there.
Now watch the back of Fittipaldi's car. Here, he's on the dirt. It goes already.
Well, I tell you what, that was never going to work. That was never going to work. In terms of Christian, I know he's on the dirty side of the racetrack, but he needed to get out of it a little bit, I think, and blend back in there. Whether Ricky made a legitimate move or whether he roughed him up, that was not the time to fight him back because it was going to turn into disaster.
Boy, that was a sweet move by Ricky down to the inside. He has been spectacular in the opening laps of races. Well, always, but particularly
they're
this
down
season.
a lap, Greg. So this is really going to make this a long day for these guys.
And now, this is what we were looking at right before that happened.
This is old Bamba. That was a neat move there, just tucked it to the inside. The Porsche's working well, but when you get to the exit of turn 2, Greg, this is your favorite spot in terms of talking about giving guys racing room. And here comes Tandy. He takes advantage as well and slides up the inside of Jan Magnussen.
Well, everything is relative, isn't it? And even if you're driving a big V8, you lose your momentum. It can cost you not just 1, but 2 spots. So that's going to be ultra frustrating, certainly for the number 3 of Magnussen. We're getting word that we might be seeing some pit stops starting.
Yeah, well, pit lane is closed, and they gather everyone up, and then it's prototypes first.
And we're going to take a quick break, come back, hopefully, when the pits are open, and see what unfolds. Strategy coming into play here in Monterey. Cleanup continues here at turn 10 at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the Continental Tire Monterey Grand Prix powered by Mazda. Ricky Taylor and the Konica Minolta Corvette DP has continued. They finally have been able to get the number 5 car out, and pits are open and leaders coming in, Cal.
Yeah, this is going to be critical here. Everyone coming in together. Can someone get the jump on them? JB.
Wow, yeah, I tell you what, close action down here. The 70 had to go around the outside of the 55 to take his rightful place in the pit box and almost took the front off the car. This, remember, for Mazda is uncharted territory. The competition in the pit lane, driver changes, everything is hot right now. Okay, Brian, what's going on your end?
Cameron behind the wheel of the 31. These guys.
Well, the pit stop complete for Dane Cameron, but Cal, you could clearly see a big issue refueling for our race leader.
That was huge, and just as I was saying that this team is a well-oiled machine, it all goes wrong for the refueler there. He could not plug in, he could not get connected. And the 31 car, we're going to have to wait and see for timing and scoring to cycle to see if they did that driver change. I would have to believe that Eric Cohn would have jumped in that machine, but here we see the 55 car who had led from the beginning, still on pit lane, and the 70 car, as you can see from the LED display, now 5th in class.
At first I thought that may have been that the car was too far from the wall, but there was enough slack in that hose that just wouldn't couple, would it?
And then the question is, have they in fact got it coupled? Look at the fueler here on the left side. He's just struggling. There's plenty of slack in the hose.
Wow, yeah, tell you what, close action down here.
Plenty of slack in the hose, so that's not the issue. It's not like the car is too far from the pit wall. He just cannot get that plugged in.
And down to Brian Till with the 10 car.
Driver change going on down here at Konica Minolta. A little damage to the right front of this Corvette Daytona prototype, but it doesn't look bad. I heard him saying on the scanner, make sure you shake that gravel out. They did 1 lap before they came to pit lane to try to get some gravel out of it. Jordan Taylor's going to take off in the 10.
Yeah, hopefully that water we're seeing displayed on pit road there is just from the overflow and nothing got punctured, Greg.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It was.
Oh, look at this. There's damage to Christian's car, I think. Maybe suspension damage for the championship leader. Wow. What a moment. This could be pivotal.
Yeah, that right rear is not even turning at this stage. Taylor now down. I think he'll be down at least 2 laps, Cal.
I wonder whether he broke a half shaft or something when he was spinning the wheels in the gravel, Greg, when he's trying to get out of there, because it looks like he's got no drive to the right rear at least.
Well, and they were talking.
He was dragging, he's dragging him.
Yeah, here comes the GTLM field. Justin?
Well, yeah, the Ford team absolutely ready for these guys coming. Richard Westbrook getting in the 67, Joey Henn getting in the 66. I tell you what, they were ready. They were absolutely, remember, this is the first time we've seen them running for a pit stop at the front edge of the grid. Everybody experiencing Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca is top lane. The 66 has a much better stop. Fantastic. 67 following it out.
Right, the battles come to pit road. The 68 just gets out, but he gets beaten by both Porsches and the 62 Risi Competizione Ferrari. Now the Corvette's heading back out, and they'll make it out in front of the BMW. No, the 3 drops behind the 100.
Wow, have to see if anything was played in terms of short fills or minimal tire changes, but some big swings down in the pits. We'll suss it out for you when we come back to the Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Huge swings here at the Continental Tire Monterey Grand Prix, powered by Mazda at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. The Delta Wing now leads as we are about to go back to green. But Cal, we're riding on board Dirk Werner, the number 25 BMW, an example of sometimes when things go wrong, they can go right.
We typically see at one of the 100-minute sprints like Detroit and at Long Beach, where it can kind of, you're on the back foot, you do an early stop, you have a problem, suddenly there's a yellow, and you're topped up with fuel and gain that track position. It's happened here today. Look at the Delta Wing. They lead. Great pit stop by that team, led by Timmy Keane. Not as much fuel goes on that ball because they're not as loud as much, but certainly a great and well-executed stop have got the boys in front.
And boy, when that car drops the hammer, it goes. Straight line speed in abundance, and he leads them to the green right away. Curran knifing underneath Dirk Werner. And Werner just wants to make that. Oh, and look at this move as Negri now on board. Down and underneath.
Wow.
And Curran, and that car was the one that topped the warm-up, Cal.
That is incredible stuff. They've done their driver change. Great job by John Pugh in his opening stint keeping it together. But Oz Negri, 300 pounds lighter, he took advantage there, straight down to the inside into turn 2, the Andretti hairpin.
And a huge concern as we're on board with the 60 for the 55. Did they get all the fuel in that car?
Yeah, that's going to be a big concern. As much as he was struggling with it, the refueler, that could be a big concern for Sylvain Tremblay and the whole Speed Source crew.
And Oz now wants by that Delta Wing in a hurry because after
awesome speed. He's got a run on him. Sean Rahal is going to have to close the door here a little bit, otherwise the lead is going to change. How unique is that Delta Wing? Literally half the weight of the Daytona prototypes. But boy, does that whistle down the straightaways. The low drag configuration of that is literally like an arrow.
Half the horsepower, half everything pretty much.
And a lot less fuel going on board. And oh, Negri to the inside. Takes the lead down into turn 11.
Almost looked like he may have sold him a little dummy there, and it worked. Now the question is, can Curran get through and stay with Oz? And remember, like those Mazdas, this is a P2 derived car. Great aero, great momentum, and this is the track that it should shine on.
Look at Curran. Yeah. Curran's got some speed here. The Wheeler machine has come to life.
See if Curran can get through on the Delta Wing. Can he get to Negri? Hasn't been able to get through just yet.
Awesome stuff here. Things settling down. Negri taking advantage. He has taken off. Curran has to get by that Delta Wing as soon as he can.
All right, well, trying to see a Curran now. He wanted to do it. The problem is here comes the all right up as well.
Goossens. Mark Goossens now behind the wheel of the defending race championship car. Race champion car, should I say. Look at the Mazdas. They're in the dirt looking for a way by. This is hairy stuff right now. One of the Mazdas clears the 90. That's the 55.
J-Bomb is back at it and on board now.
Awesome stuff here. What a fight at the front of this fat pack.
Meanwhile, Negri doing exactly what he wanted. He's been able to open it up. And the problem here, Curran gets a good run out of this turn. But when that Delta Wing lights the fuse on that thing, it's game over in a straight line. So as we continue to follow this, certainly, we want to get down to Brian Till in the pits with, I'm sure, a dejected Ricky Taylor.
Yeah, we talked to Jordan Taylor a bit earlier, and Ricky now out of the number 10 car. Obviously, this racetrack is hard to pass on. You made a spectacular move. What did the rest of it look like from your seat?
Well, you don't get many opportunities to pass, so I saw an opening. He had a bad run coming out of the corkscrew, so I just knew if I get door-to-door with him into 9, if there's contact, nobody's going to be out of the race. And I thought I'd cleared him going into 10, and then I was defensive and, racing hard, and I just felt a hard hit in the right rear. And, if I was him, you got to get to my door so we can at least race hard instead of take us both out. I haven't seen a replay, but all I know is I got hit in the right rear, and once I see a replay, I'll have a better read on how we're going to race each other from this point on.
Jordan was talking too about championship and long-term goals. When you look at this, a couple of laps down now, is it about just collecting what you can leave here with?
Yeah, we're racing them in the championship. The Mazdas are going to be strong for the rest of the year, so we're going to lose some points to them, it looks like. But yeah, it's a shame. I mean, we're racing for third this weekend, and we would have kind of won that battle. I think we have a very strong Corvette, and you know, it's a shame for the Continental guys. They didn't get a chance to show what they can do on pit lane, but we'll keep pushing and go to the next one.
Never quit down here at the 10, guys.
You can't. You know, you're in it for the championship. And talk about not quitting, the number 55 after the problems. Jonathan Bomarito has now scythed through the field, sits second, and the chase is on 5.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's going to have to dig deep here, but the car certainly has the pace to maybe catch our leader, that is Oz Negri right now. But getting back to that incident, I think it was a tough but very fair move that Ricky Taylor put on Christian Fittipaldi. As he said, it's tough to pass around here. They traded paint a little bit. I think Christian tried to stay with him on his flank, and I'm not sure it was intentional to dive down the inside or whether he just ended up on the dirty part of the racetrack. But I think when you're thinking big picture from Christian's seat, he should have been thinking there's no way that move was ever going to pay off. It was going to come to the situation we saw with both cars in the gravel trap. So maybe he was just too committed and then couldn't get out of it. But either way, had the car in the bad place after the move by Ricky Taylor.
Well, the mindfulness that Ricky Taylor said, I knew if I was side by side with him coming out of 9, neither of us should be out of the race. And then something happened. So he was obviously very cognizant of if he was going to make that pass, to do it in as safe a method as possible. And we've been watching the progress Bomarito was put in that 55 car. Well, it was Nunez who put it on pole and had that great opening run, but then problems in the pits. JB?
But first of all, Tristan, everybody in South Florida waited a long time to have this interview with you, bringing the car in the lead in an IMSA race. Well done. That must have felt fantastic for you after being a part of this program for so long.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge boost in our ego. Being up there, qualifying on pole, both cars leading in 1-2 until we came for the first pit stop. And we had a little issue there, getting the fuel probe in there, but it doesn't seem like it's stopping Jonathan out there right now. He's on a tear, so you know, we're all really excited. Doesn't matter. We're not going to get our spirits down because of that pit stop. We're going to keep going. We got a heck of a car under us, a lot of pace, so just got to keep looking forward.
Did you get all the fuel in? That's Calvin speculating that.
I think we made sure we got all the fuel in. If we were going to be slow, might as well get all the fuel in. So I think we did manage to get all the fuel.
And of course, we could see the rear of your car especially starting to get pretty loose in those last 10 laps. That is the trouble. Full fuel load runs here in this temperature. It's a first time for everybody this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, this track in particular, the temperature changes the car unbelievably. So you can see the rear end stepping out a little bit, but you had to manage it. So the car's fantastic. We got a great race car. Just got to look forward and look for the end of the race.
And isn't this great, guys? We legitimately can talk to Mazda and their drivers about being in the front of the track here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Good stuff.
Well, we say a big thanks to Justin and Tristan for our Mazda mid-race report. And, boy, he's not kidding about Bomarito. Although, Cal, in that last lap, Negri and Bomarito running virtually identical times.
Yeah, don't count out Mike Schenk Racing right now. Oz Negri has shown tremendous pace. Maybe a tick off of the Mazdas all weekend long, but right there nipping at their heels. So maybe this is the day they come so close, Greg, in terms of that car. Led a ton of laps at Daytona before they had an engine issue. Had the pole at Sebring. Maybe this is the day for the 60 machine to get that victory.
Yeah, Oz mentioned that during that, when he had the problem at Daytona, he said it was the first time in years I actually started talking to myself in the car, going, no, no, no. He said, because I knew we had a car that could have won that. And boy, they sure seem to have a quick one here as well, as we look at Jonathan Bomarito at home here at Mazda Raceway.
Yeah, he's looking smooth, but here's the front of the GTLM field, and boy, oh boy, they made that pit stop. We spoke to Bill Aublin saying we had to get off of those tires, and it has paid dividends because when the pit lane closed, they were able to stay out as everyone then hit pit lane. It has put them to the front of this field, but now he's going to feel the heat from the Italian ace, Giancarlo Fisichella, the former Formula One Ferrari driver. Now a Ferrari, oh, the 70's off. Drama here for Joel Miller in the second of the Mazdas. Looks like he just pulled it off.
Yeah, it does.
No incident.
It's on the climb up. That's exit of 6, isn't it? Yep. It's off to the left. For a minute when we were on board, it sounded like you could hear him trying to get it to restart.
Not sure if he's trying to recycle electronics to see if he can get some life back in there, or whether it's a drivetrain issue, but Wow, well then that throws the question mark up about the sister car as well. Whenever you've got a two-car team and one of the cars hits problems.
And getting back to this here at the GT Le Mans with Werner in the IHG Rewards Club car as we go full course caution. Full course caution.
Wow, and this is going to be interesting because there's just over an hour to go, but because we've had a he killed it.
Well, this is the first glitch they've had this weekend, top every session.
Yep.
So big problems there. Meanwhile, of course, after we'll follow this story, but we want to check in down in pit lane. We heard from Ricky Taylor. Brian, what's Christian Fittipaldi got to say?
Well, yeah, we just saw the problems for the 70 out on the racetrack, but earlier we saw the problems, Christian, between you and Ricky Taylor. Obviously, this racetrack is hard to pass on. Kind of have to get what you can get when you can. Is that kind of what happened up there? You just got in the dirt, or how did you see it?
No, pretty much. You can get what you can get, and you need to try to give each other room, and maybe it didn't work for both of us over there, and we had an unfortunate day, me and him, and what can I say? I feel really bad for the Action Express guys. They really did an awesome job. We had a good start of the race. The car was hard to drive, but it was hanging in there, and we needed to collect the points. But unfortunately, it didn't go this way, and hopefully we'll turn the page, go on to Detroit, and Mustang sampling Chevy car is going to be running up there in Detroit.
Well, I think it shows just how competitive this series is, guys. You've got to get everything you can whenever you can, and you just had two racers out there fighting for the same piece of real estate.
And listening to that response from Christian, I would have to say that he'd love it to do it over again. I think he kind of forced the issue there a little bit and wished he hadn't got himself in that position, because I think if he felt that he was aggrieved by Ricky Taylor's move, he would have been a bit more vociferous in his response right now.
Yeah, he's generally soft-spoken, but not that soft-spoken after something like this. So, yeah, I think he realizes his culpability there. While we're under caution, we're going to step away. We will be back to Monterey. The prototype in GT Le Mans fields about to go back to green here at the Continental Tire Monterey Grand Prix, powered by Mazda. Green flag is out, and Oz Negri drops the hammer in the Mike Shank Racing Ligier Honda. And he had built up a pretty decent lead, and Bomarito, Cal, was not closing in that swiftly. Now with the caution, he's there. But Eric Kern has shown some speed. Look at this side by side, the two Corvettes for fourth. Although the number 10 is down a couple laps, of course.
Yeah, 10 is down a few laps, so I think Goossens is just going to let him go. He doesn't want to fight for that right now. He's got to think big picture as well. So, yes, Negri texted with Mike Shank this morning, and he said, you know, we're really been fighting getting front tire temperature on the 60 machine. We've been doing everything we can with the setup to get that. So look at these opening laps here. Certainly on the other restart, Oz Negri's car came to life very, very quickly and very effectively. And certainly this is going to be a great battle. It may come down to that final pit stop today in terms of who can execute the best.
Again, 31 Curran sitting there. That Whelen Engineering Team Fox machine has shown some good speed before that caution.
Yeah, Eric has really got the pedal down here this afternoon, doing a great job there in the 31 Whelen Corvette. And if things go the way they are right now, who knows? He and Dane Cameron could be the championship leaders at the end of the day with the problems for the 10 and the 5.
Yeah, so now he wants to be fast but smart, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got to recognize the fact those P2 machines are probably somewhat unbeatable here today unless strategy or a little bit of luck or some incident comes your way. So maximize your points. That's what it's all about in terms of the championship.
And if Jordan gets a little aggressive, just let him through.
Yeah, he's not in the picture right now, but, you know, Goossens very much is. So the 90 car, they've been tweaking on that all weekend long, struggling with grip. Ricky Cameron, the engineer there, and the whole squad led by Troy Fliss have really struggled with that car, and I think it'll be somewhat disappointing. But in race trim here today, they are much stronger. Had to start from pit lane, had to do a drive-through, so it's been a long haul, but fourth in the race right now.
Oh, and the number 25 is in, and in break we were talking about the sequencing.
I love it because they're in their fuel window now. They couldn't pit under caution because pit lane was closed with the short procedure. So right now they'll be good to go to the end. Bill Aublin now behind the wheel. They had the lead of the race. They get a good clean pit stop, run good clean laps. Everyone else have to hit pit lane as well. So, and again, if they get a yellow, they're going to be back to the front immediately. So this is a great call. The Rahal boys always seem to be on top of the strategy.
Boy, and Bill Arberlin has just been fast this season, no question about it. It'd be fun to watch this. And, of course, for our points leaders in the GTLM category, Tommy Milner, who, speaking of fast, Brian Till, has been on form this year. You've got him in the pits.
Well, I heard you talking on the radio earlier about drive off the corner. It wasn't ideal, but not being the conspiracy theorist, but how much white paint's going to be on the yellow cars and how much yellow paint's going to be on those white cars at the end of this? Looks like there's a little argy-bargy, as Calvin would say, going on out there in GTLM.
Well, it's always close in our class, for sure. Hopefully there's no paint. There's already some red paint on there, but that was fairly fair. It's racing. You're going to have some contact every now and then. The Ferrari there now, I had a little run there at the start, which was good racing. I had to run wide in the last corner. He could have given me a bit more room, but I can't fault him for that. But like I said, hopefully no more paint shared, but if we have to, we will.
And the new Michelin tire, how's that working out for you guys? I know it's probably not ideally suited for this racetrack, but everybody's got it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it seemed, obviously looking at practice, it seemed like that the long run stuff was going to be super important, and we focused on that. Car was pretty good. Still had some issues there with drive off the corner, so we're still learning. It's all brand new to us, this tire, but Michelin always brings great stuff, so it's just a matter of us getting our head around what makes this tire work, and we'll work hard at Corvette Racing to make that happen.
They will indeed work hard to make it happen. And it's like you said earlier, Calvin, Ford obviously had a chance to run on that tire, as did the Ferrari guys. And speaking of Ferrari, 68 was just in. Fuel only, they kept those Michelins on.
The man who's on the move right now is Joey Hand. I believe he's got around the 911 of Patrick Pilet, waiting for timing and scoring to cycle here, but he could be up to the second spot as we now see the second of the four GTs. Richard Westbrook down to the inside, into the hairpin. What a move.
Boy, nothing Pilet could do. You could see him feint to the inside, and it didn't work, and that slowed him up. He's got to go huge defensive on Ollie Gavin right now and see what happens down here. Delta Wing is in, and Justin Bell.
Yeah, the Delta Wing, Sean Rahal just walking very calmly away. What a great run he's had. Catherine was so excited to get in his car. Of course, ultimate pace against these top peak cars is very tough for it over the course of a stint, but in outright speed, it's been electric. And of course, it's so good for Catherine. She's stuck with this program, and I think some vindication today. They truly believe that this could be their first podium weekend at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca for the Delta Wing. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would, and long overdue. They have worked so hard for it, but this is going to get intense right now. Pilet in the number 911 Porsches. You're right on board with Gavin. That's Patrick right in front of him. Right behind him is Garcia, equally close, and behind him is Makovecki, equally close in the 912. It has been intense. Now, let's go back while we were in break. There has been a little bit. Brian alluded to, watch this, Cal.
Well, look at these Corvettes and Porsches. They can't seem to stay out of each other's way. There's Garcia diving down to the inside of Freddie Makovecki there into the hairpin, and then he gets the drag race going down this front straightaway. And remember, it's Freddie Makovecki who attacked the Corvettes at Long Beach. Certainly no love lost there. Garcia over it down to the inside, tried to get out of his way. Almost lost it there in trying to avoid him there. So I don't think that was intentional. And there we see the 911 now is off the road live.
So
that's Pilet.
Ushered him back big time, didn't it?
Yeah, and the Corvettes have got around him. So Corvettes are now in front of both of the Porsches. So the Fords run 1-2. Sorry, the Fords run 2-3. Fisichella still in the lead.
Doing everything he could to stay in front of the 100 BMW, now in the hands of John Edwards. And let's see what happened here. Another inside and another little bit of a...
This is awesome. This is awesome. They're not giving each other any room. I think the statement was made at Long Beach in how this category is going to be fought this year. And there you see the 4-car of Ollie Gavin saying, you did it to us at Long Beach, take that.
Yeah, just incredibly aggressive at least. I think it would be hard for the Corvette guys to look at the numbers on those Porsches and not see in their minds a little target around them.
Absolutely, and I'm actually surprised with the 25 car having made their final pit stop of the day, potentially, that no one else has followed suit. Typically, you get that domino effect. You have to cover those guys, so I'm surprised particularly the Corvettes or maybe the Porsches haven't made the same statement. Fords have some pace, but for these guys, maybe their only hope, as we see it, one of the Porsches dives in.
Well,
oh, and he's locked up. Look at that. Got to get down to that 60K before you hit the pit lane speed there at those red cones.
I wonder if he sensed something with the off-course excursion. You know, it was way off the outside of 11. Hits the marks, JB.
Yeah, I tell you what, they came alive here. They were watching your replay, and they were arms in the air, but of course the mechanics having to get ready. Full new set of Michelins going on this. And you're right, Calvin. These guys, I mean, this is, I wouldn't like to think that it was deliberate retaliation, but you know what? We're all drivers. This is a man's world. Catherine, excusing that. But it's a mano a mano, and these guys are going super hard. And you know what? When the opportunity comes by, you go as hard as you can, and sometimes you touch. But Calvin, is always the way. When there is the threat of retaliation in the air, isn't it odds on that those will be the two cars that'll touch?
Yeah, and it's just like you're going to be committed. You're going to go for those passes, JB. But when it's someone who's roughed you up in recent weeks, you're probably going to be a little bit harder than them. So I think it was a legit move by Ollie Gavin. But certainly the Porsche, I think it may come back to play dividends in terms of them forcing their hand a little bit to make that pit stop. And right now, here comes Fisichella. As we said, the domino effect. GTLM leaders, they have to cover Bill Oberlin and that number 25 that have made that pit stop call.
Joey Hand in the 66 Ford GT, though, stays out. Fisichella in, looks like tires only.
No, fuel
only, excuse me.
This is a big call by Rick Mayer and the whole engineering squad there. They're trying to minimize the loss. It's not a full fuel load, so you'd be delayed by the tire stop. How long does the Ganassi group keep those Fords out there that currently run 1-2? Joey Hand leading this race. Of all of the success he's had, and he's a California boy, he's never won here at Laguna Seca in sports car competition. He would love to do that here today. And what a boost it would be for this Ford GT group before they head to Le Mans next month.
Sacramento for Joey Hand as he powers his way out of turn 5. Oh, and that's the lead. Second, that's Bomarina's off.
Unbelievable. Chasing down Oz Negri. Has Mazda's day gone wrong? He gets it turned around. That's the good news. Probably good news for Joey Hand as well, because otherwise we'd have gone yellow. And these are the scenarios, Greg. You got to cover that base in terms of some of the leaders already pitting in your class. You got to cover them. If you're in your fuel window, you need to come.
In comes the 55. And if nothing else, they should be in their window here.
They should. JB, what are you seeing?
Well, yeah, in their window and fuel only. It's obviously this time the fuel guy, I'm sure, is far more attentive about trying to get that on there. And that's very nice. Pulling away. Yeah, they needed that fuel, obviously, as you said.
I like the call. I like the call. Dive in, just in case they'd already thrown the yellow. The question mark is tires. Did he damage his tires in that quick spin? Let's take another look here. This is the battle for the lead. There's Negri, there's Bomarito. I think he just tries to tuck it to the inside. He was thinking about getting on the power early, Greg, to get a run down at the hairpin as Negri has hit pit lane as well.
That's exactly right, yeah.
Watch that, I think he was setting him up. He runs out wide, he realized Negri doesn't have the momentum through the corner, and he just hits the curb a little bit as he was going to power, enough to turn him around.
Well, there's a bit of debris down in there. That's where we saw Fittipaldi catch some dirt and debris and threw it up on track as well. So the charge has to be renewed.
We all remember our first car. Some were fast and some were cool. Colin, I think yours was in the cool category.
Yeah, it was. I got a 1972 Volkswagen Beetle that I've restored, my family restored with me, and really fun project, but not exactly super fast, but definitely cool.
What upgrades have you done? Because I hear it's a bit of a sleeper.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. It's got some different brake packages on it. It's my dad being a race engineer. We had to make the suspension work better. So bigger roll bars, upgraded engine as well. Also put some Continental True Contact tires on there that have EcoPlus technology, so it's really fuel efficient, which is great because my car has no fuel gauge.
I just had a visual. Yes, you are qualified to go along to the Woodstock reunion, but you will blow their bloody doors off.
And of course, there is the number 4 Corvette down into the pits.
It's our championship leader.
We were watching with that piece on Colin Brown right there. The prototype GTD machines will be running later on this afternoon on FS2. Great stop by the number 4, as you would expect.
Yeah, certainly great execution there, but I'm still scratching my head a little bit as to why the Ganassi team are not pulling their leading cars in as well. You have to cover it. If there's a yellow, they're going to cycle to the back with these cars that have already pitted. Maybe they're just working on their tire strategy. I believe they're on the softer of the Michelin, so maybe they need to go a little bit further to not make that last stint so long. But as we saw, the Ferrari didn't even take tires, so maybe they're just trying to gap the field a little bit further before they hit pit lane. And then the question mark will be, does the Ford take tires or not?
Ooh, very close there. The number 5 of Barbosa trying to get up and around one of the BMWs. And Bill Arbelin put a nice move on Patrick Pellet and has moved around him, and they both got by Gavin after that stop.
Yeah, Bill Arbelin is a lot happy with this race car than I think his teammate was at the beginning, so great strategy play. Race could still come their way. They should be good to go to the finish. BT.
Now, we just saw a quick glimpse, Cal, of Makovecki now into the pits in the 912. And I think Curran's in.
Curran comes in. The big question mark there with the 31 car is, do they do another driver change, put Dane Cameron back in? Eric's done a brilliant job here, but I think Dane Cameron may have a couple of tenths more pace if they're going to go for the victory. Have to wait and see what happens.
Well, that's a trundling down pit lane. Brian Till.
31 is in, Eric Curran. It's going to be a time on the fuel. They're going to take right side tires only because of that. So they'll have fresh rights. We also saw that on another car down pit road. Stumble, and off they go.
Yeah, and that's why they didn't do the tire change, Brian, because it was just a time fill, 2 tire change only, and you could lose precious seconds doing that driver change, and Eric Curran's done a brilliant job here. What can he get out of this car here today? The Mazdas have had problems. The 5 and the 10 have had problems. And look at this side by side here. This is 4 position right now between the 90 and the 31.
They're behind Negri, but that's the battle for second. And it looks like on the warmer tires right now, Goossens gets it.
He does. 2 tires on Eric Curran's car, so he's got to be careful. Coming in here, that right side. He's not going to have the grip. He's got to wait for those pressures to come in. The braking will feel a little bit different with the left side hot, the right side cold.
40 minutes to go. And the number 4 coming in, report, Cal, a drive-through penalty for wheel spin, excessive wheel spin exiting the pits. Brian, what's the story?
Yeah, the car was up on the jacks, and you know, you've got to make all the time that you can. We talked about how difficult it is to pass here. What happened is they finished with the tires, and Ollie got it in gear, and the rear wheels started to spin pretty aggressively before the car hit the ground. It was still up on the jacks. That is a penalty. He just drove through.
See if we can see it here, Cal. Yep.
Yep. He was ready to go. And the officials saw that, and the problem is if there's a mechanic down there with a wheel gun or something, that becomes a big safety issue, so that's why that rule is in place. Very rarely do you see it called, but that is pivotal for our championship leader in the GTLM class.
Yeah, it's a huge development. Meanwhile, JB, what are you hearing on Porsche?
Well, yeah, Brian just caught it. You're so close, such a fine line. Of course, when we're in the pit lane at the Le Mans 24-hour race, it is an environment of 0 wheel spin because that's the rules there. So much more attention paid to that in the pit boxes. But I watched them. I was running back towards the 912 to see what they were doing. They changed tires, but I tell you what, Calvin, it was amazing. The car almost bounced as he dropped it off the jacks. It took off. I've never seen it. It was almost the most perfect timing, but only just. And I took a look at their rear tires, mate. The inside was really rubbered up there. So I think they took the chance to put in the fuel they needed and change the tires, obviously. But I was up with Reese. They needed 8 seconds of fuel there to get to the end and no tires. Just a little update.
Here we're watching on board. Good stuff, JB, at the 66 car. That's going to be the big question as to when they pit Joey Hand from the lead and what strategy do they play. It'll be a time fill for these guys as well. Do they take tires? Do they not? He stays out.
Well, while we're watching that unfold, Cal, there were a couple of replays that happened that we were watching other stuff. Want to show it to you. First of all, that at the time changed for the lead.
It was. This is before their pit stop that they just made. What a move by Mark Goosens, the long way around, and then tucks it back on line. Nothing Eric Carr can do. So late break there by Mark Goosens, and then takes the track position away. And then this was between the GTLM machines. Bill Auberlen making a big move there down on the inside of Patrick Pilet, whose day seems to go from bad to worse.
Auberlen able to make that stick, and clearly whatever the fix they did on the differential in the 90 Visit Florida car is working, because it is flying out there right now. Question is, when will the two Ford GTs duck into the pits? Maybe they're stretching it to have the shortest fuel drop that they can get. We'll find out.
It's going to have another wing here. It's going to be, and it's going to hover like this.
What do you think? Pretty good, right? Well, there's a reason behind this. Of course, here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca this weekend, everyone has got the goal on how they're going to win this race. But Le Mans, that's just a few short weeks away, so there's a lot of attention on that too. But Michelin, in a partnership with the ACO, are looking way into the future with what they're calling Le Mans 2030, designed for the win. Now, can you imagine what will the cars be like we drive then? What will the technology be? Will they even have drivers? What kind of tires will they run on? What will be the power source? Well, and the imagination is your only limit. And this time, you can get involved. You go online, you register, and you submit your entry. What will the Le Mans winning car of the future look like? Hopefully not like that. Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Viv, can you even draw?
Who knew? Justin speaks bib.
Pretty cool, and the grand prize winner will be Michelin's guest at the 2017 Le Mans 24-hour race. So if you haven't been there, put it on your bucket list, everyone. It is an amazing event, and one that all of these GTLM teams, well, not all of them, but certainly some of the key ones, are gearing up for next month.
We ride on board with the number 25, Bill Auberlen, for the BMW Rahal Letterman Lanigan and IHU Rewards Club M6. Currently is back in the order just a little bit, but is split between the two Porsches. There is your race leader, and Oz Negri has that margin up to over 15 seconds right now, Cal.
Yeah, and this could be a big day for Mike Shank Racing, and boy, do they deserve it. I mean, they dig so deep. I mean, last year they just had so many problems and incidents and big crash damage. Came out of the box strong this year with this new 3.5-liter HPD engine. Huge support from Steve Erickson and everyone at Honda. And this would be a big day for this group. Remember, ESM won with this power plant at Daytona and Sebring. So if they could pull this one off, what a start to the year for Honda.
And who at the start of this race would have ever thought the 90 would be leading at some point and running a very competitive second?
That's why you can never give up. You just never know what's going to happen. They, didn't make the pre-grid cutoff time. They had to start from pit lane. There's then a rule in place that Brian explained where if you're tight on fuel, you start from pit lane, you have to do a drive-through so you don't gain an advantage. So that was kind of a penalty on top of a penalty. They had to dig their way through all of the GTLM cars, and then suddenly we saw all of these issues with cars hitting each other, and they just took advantage, and now they've got a pretty strong car on race day as well.
Yeah, all after no pace in practice or qualifying. I mean, a great rebound for that team. Curran keeps the number 31 Wheelan machine in third. You go back to GT Le Mans, it's the two Ford GTs which have yet to make their stops. 66 of Joey Hand, the 67 of Richard Westbrook. Third is the number 3 Corvette of Antonio Garcia. Then the pole sitting Scuderia Corsa Ferrari, now in the hands of Alessandro Pierguidi, the number 68.
We're looking at Mark Goosens running in P2 right now, position 2. Not to confuse you, he's in a DP in position 2. Defending race champions from that team with Valiente and Richard Westbrook last year, and they won in 2012 as well. And his teammate had to fight hard, Brian. What has he got to say as they're running second?
Now, apparently, technical problem there. The number 10 in. Let's go back down to Brian.
The differential and so on and so forth. Is the car much better now?
Yeah, it's one of those things where we thought we were a little bit off the pace, and we chased it for 3 days. And we made, pretty much everything we could change. We changed multiple times, and we ended up pretty close to how we started the weekend. And obviously we're much better, but we also got lucky, but we also had a lot of bad luck this weekend, so we felt like we needed a little bit of good luck and try and get Visit Florida car up front, but it's going well now. We'll see the 55 still back there, see if the Mazdas can get back up front.
See if they can keep that good luck going. And remember Ryan Dial back. We missed him at Long Beach. He was over running in the World Endurance Championship.
Yeah, and he had a good run there at Silverstone, finishing second, so he's a busy boy. 2 programs, running with the Tequila Patron ESM team in the P2 category, and they'll be at Spa next week, and you can watch that race right here on Fox Sports 1. 8:30 next Saturday morning.
And again, Joey Hand stays out. He's got about 5 seconds back to his teammate Westbrook. Here he comes.
Again, I think this just might be coming down to their tire strategy. Looked like the 67 had a slightly delayed pit stop, and that allowed the 66 to get around, and then they came out of the pits together, and Joey's lead on Westy right now is right about 5 seconds, so that could come down to how the 2 drivers are managing their tires. We had a report during one of the breaks that Joey had said that the rear tires were starting to lose their edge a little bit, so you can see him there going through turn 5 as Westy approaches it.
Well, with the other side of the coin, obviously they're making the tires work, but the longer they go, and I know there's the risk if there's the caution, but the longer they go, the shorter that fill is in the pits.
Well, you need X amount of fuel to get you to the finish, whether you stop with 10 minutes to go and you're out of fuel, or whether you put 10 minutes of fuel in now. So the timing of the fuel will be the same. I think it's really a question of them feeling out the tires in terms of how's the tires feeling. You don't want to stay out on the same set and then you got nothing if there's suddenly a caution at the end. So
just to show you that this place, although we've seen plenty of it, but the passing can be a little bit tough here. Catherine Legg has not been able to get around that 67 for basically almost an entire lap.
Well, these GTLM machines have a lot of downforce. They have a lot of mechanical grip, probably more mechanical grip than the prototypes through corners like this one. So it is difficult. And the reverse side of that is that the GTLM cars do not want to let prototype cars in front and maybe balked a little bit through some of their key corners as well. So they're going to fight hard unless there's a really huge advantage by the other car.
Is Garcia 1-2 that also still needs a stop, yes?
I think the Corvettes are good. I believe, looking at the time, no, I think you may be, let's have a look here, the 3 car. No, they're on the same strategy as the Ford, so you are correct, Greg. The 3 car will need to hit pit lane. The 4 car has made their second stop.
And it looks like Edwards may also still need to come in.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy yet to play out in GTLM. Looks pretty calm right now, but it's going to be really heated up when everyone makes those final tire choices, final pit stops for fuel. It's going to be a lot closer than it is right now. There's people on very split strategies at the moment.
I just looked at the last lap time because we heard the reference that Dial made about the 55 Mazda was still back there, but the last lap, Cal, a 24-2, Kern and Goossens into the 21s and low 22s.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have
Maybe
to say
traffic.
from Mazda's perspective, this day has not gone the way they were hoping. It's been the flawless weekend up until about halfway through this this race, and then it started to go awry with the 70 car, the pit stop problems for both the 55 and then the 70 car braking, and then the spin for Bomarito. Still not over. Still got a lot of speed in that car, but he's sitting back there in the 4th position and hitting traffic at the wrong times.
Having a look there, the number 62, Fisichella, right behind him, the 100 of John Edwards that we were talking about.
Yeah, Edwards won this race last year with he and his teammate Lucas Luhr. And that was when we had more classes involved in the race, and he basically did a dynamite restart, got in front of some traffic and took off, gapped the field by a significant margin, never was to be touched again that day. So they expected this M6 to be very strong, but it wasn't to be. These mid-engine cars like the Ferrari and the Ford have really shown a lot of pace here with this new Michelin tire.
Yeah, and I would think for Edwards, as you pointed out, even though struggling with the new tire, they're seeing at least some speed after what was an absolutely abysmal Long Beach race for them.
Yeah, the 100 car has just had diabolical luck this year. Had the failure at Daytona, sent Lucas Lurhard into the wall. Had some issues at Sebring. And then John Edwards had a failure of sorts right front at Long Beach, sent him into the wall as well. So it has not been the start of the year they were looking for. They're going to be looking for victories now and maybe helping BMW to the manufacturer's title, but the driver's title is going to be a long haul for he and Lucas Lur.
Just looking at the times, Negri, he'd been in the 19s earlier, but at 120.9. Everybody else behind him right now, Cal, is lapping in the 21s or 22s.
Yeah, he's looking comfortable, and this is going to be a long 24 minutes for Mike Shank, because it always seems to be the case of they think they've got it handled and then something seems to go wrong. But right now is smooth sailing. He's got a nice margin. He can take his time in traffic. Oz is certainly one of the more aggressive guys who really goes for it. But right now he can take his time with some of these GT cars and not force the issue too much. It's a nice margin to have. Just find your groove. Don't back off too much. Stay in rhythm with the track and your car.
Looking at the times as we've been watching Fisichella, and he has been consistently lapping in the mid-126s, as really have the Ford GTs. Garcia, fastest guy out there in that last lap was Pierre Guidi in the Scuderia car at a 125.5. I guess Makovecki pipped him with a 24.7. So everybody in that window, as you would expect.
Eric Curran here in the third position right now in the prototype class. The Whelan Team Fox Corvette DP done a really great job here this weekend. Certainly been up to the task. If he can just hang on here with this podium run, that will give he and Dane Cameron the lead in the championship tonight. But he's going to have to keep digging deep, because here comes Jonathan Bomarito. He's about 10 seconds behind right now on the last cross across the stripe. Every position is crucial over the long season.
And the key, as you were talking about for Curran, you look at it, the number 90 is a few spots behind them in the points. It's still close enough for it not to be comfortable. But as you said, that podium would be just huge. But Bomarito now, well, he had turned a lap that was quicker than Curran. And now in the last lap, Curran able to respond with a good lap too. And Catherine Legg has now been able to clear some of that traffic. Sits in the 5th spot.
It's so cool to see that car running strong on all different types of circuit. It was even running pretty good at Long Beach. And we talk about its speed at places like Daytona and at Road America, where they should really excel this summer. But now the Delta Wing, Timmy Keane and the whole gang, they've done a tremendous job of really refining that unique race car into a potential podium winning and maybe a race winning car before the end of the year.
No, I mean, they certainly have worked awfully hard for it, as Brian Till mentioned. And speaking of Brian, you got an update for us on the 31?
Well, you guys are talking about the 31 car, and the thing that's important to keep in mind, and they said this from the very beginning of this year, both Dane Cameron and Eric Curran, this is about team. Remember, they came together with that team last year, and it took a while for things to gel. We always talk about that, but it is the perfect example. They got better and better throughout the year last year. They found victory, and they came into this 2016 season really, really fired up. I talked to Dane Cameron at Long Beach, and he talked about how well the team has gelled, and especially how Eric Curran has risen to the occasion and to the task at hand. And I think we've seen that throughout this season. We saw it at Long Beach. We're certainly seeing it here today.
Yeah, it's a great point, Brian. I mean, they came so close to the championship last year. Remember Petit Le Mans, where we had the race shortened at the end. They just made a pit stop. They were leading, and suddenly with the red flag and the early checker, that cost them the championship to their teammates. So I think that really put fire in their belly in terms of, you know, we kind of got a late start to this year in terms of really gelling, but we were competitive, had a couple of wins, and they feel they're the real deal and can go after the big prize this year.
Riding on board with the 100, just got passed, unfortunately, by the 912 of Makovecki. That puts John Edwards back another spot.
Climbing the hill about 135 miles an hour up that hill into the corkscrew. Then low speed about 50, then you plunge down. 180 feet of elevation change here at the circuit. About an 8-story drop out of the corkscrew.
Well, this is a pretty fascinating track, but if you like things in a straight line, coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, the NHRA Spring Nationals from Royal Purple Raceway are outside of Houston, Texas. Check this out. In today's first round of eliminations, Terry McMillan had this colossal engine failure. Watch what happens here. And keep in mind, it was the first run of the day. Look at that. See how the rest of the day turns out at 5 p.m. here on FS1.
I'm standing in front of the number 4 racing Corvette, of course, winner of the last 3 big Triple Crown events. And preparation, Chuck, is obviously key, but so is strategy. What are the keys to strategy success for Corvette racing?
So the keys for us really are preparation. We use probably about 70% of the data that's coming out to us throughout the race, whether it's timing, scoring, telemetry from the car. 30% is probably gut feel, just experience of how races usually run out, how they do at different tracks. You would do a lot of preparation work beforehand, figuring out when to pit, when to put certain tire compounds on. Usually that's all blown out the window on lap 1. So it's constantly evolving, lap by lap, hour by hour, whether it's a short 2-hour race like we have here or a 24-hour race at Daytona or Le Mans.
You know, some people might call them lucky, but no, here at Corvette Racing, they just call it preparation.
Execution with adaption.
They've been pretty good at it, right? I
Yeah,
think you said they were going for their 100th victory at Long Beach, just came up a little bit shy. They're still pushing hard for that. But getting back to the scenario, right in front of the Corvette is Joey Hand. Richard Westbrook has really tightened down at the front. Joey Hand only has a 2nd lead over Richard Westbrook. And I'm now looking at the numbers again. I thought that the Fords were about 5 to 10 minutes shy on fuel, but they may have gone in fuel save mode, seeing if they can squeak it through. So this is really rolling the dice here. Critical times as they look for their first victory with this new Ford GT program.
Garcia some 14 seconds back.
Oh, look at Westy. Westy is coming. Does Joey Hand have a problem? He has lost about a 5-second lead, and Westy just smokes him down into the brake zone. That was no contest there. Joey Hand has definitely lost some pace here in this number 66. Is it tire deg? Or is there some kind of other issue going on as Richard Westbrook, who won here last year in the prototype category and overall, takes the Ford number 67 to the lead?
Yeah, they both stopped on the same lap, Cal, so it's not a fuel issue in terms of...
Joey, look at that. Joey's just being gapped quickly.
Yeah. Remember, if you're just joining us, that black Corvette DP from Wayne Taylor Racing down a couple of laps after an early off with the number 5.
Could be a fuel number that he's trying to hit, just backing off if he's going to get to the finish without another stop. But meanwhile, up front, JB, has been a great day for Mike Shank Racing. Can they pull it off?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to quickly jump in with Mike. Listen, wrong time to talk, I know, but hard work and perseverance and strategy and right at the front, man.
I mean, I can't tell you how I'm pleased with this Honda. This Honda's running great. You know, John started out great. Oz had some great passes. We had great strategy. I'm trying to talk to you calm. My heart is pounding out of my chest right now. So.
I'm going to let you get on with it because it's a lot riding on this for this little team, isn't it, boys?
Oh, absolutely. And Mike Shank wears his heart on his sleeve, and he digs so deep, and they keep getting beaten down, and they just get right back up. He's got a great core group around him, excellent engineers, great crew, and a great driver pairing in John Pugh and Oz Negri, who leads this race right now.
And right as we went to that interview, you saw that little bit of a close call with the 62 of Fisichella and the Risi car and the 912 of Makovecki. Those guys are still racing hard as we watch that 60. And behind the 60, it certainly has a bit of a margin in hand. Eric Hearn has wheeled in on the back of Mark Goossens.
Yeah, we talked about the 90 car struggling for balance here this weekend. And maybe the 31 car is a bit more pacey. He's all over him right now. And again, the big question mark is right there. The 2nd place runner in GTLM, Joey Hand, does he have come? Oh, look at this. Curran gets a run. He gets a run. He goes to the inside for turn 6. Goose blocks him. He covers him. Wow. That was tight. I think the fact when we saw that shot, he covered him by a couple of car lengths. I think Eric had to get out of the gas.
And if he did, it's impressive that he didn't lose more than he did right there. But clearly, Eric has some serious pace right now.
He does. The Goose was having none of that, though. He's not going to make it easy. That is for sure.
And these two, most assuredly, not teammates. They both run Corvette DPs, but
there's fierce competition amongst those camps with Wayne Taylor Racing, Action Express, and the Visit Florida group as well, of course, all running very similar cars. Coyotes right now with these two. Wayne Taylor Racing runs the Dallara chassis underneath the Corvette bodywork. Look at this, look at the run. Goose tries to wait and get the momentum. And then Eric, oh, there was a touch there, and then you could see the brake pedal was hit. The brake lights come on from Eric Curran's perspective there.
You can only wonder what was going through Joey's head if he's looking at the mirror, seeing that red 31 dancing on the brakes.
He said, I've got enough drama going on. I don't need any part of this.
Boy, Curran's so quick at this part of the track, though.
Yeah, he really is. Now they're coming up on the other Ford of Richard Westbrook, who now leads. What a day it would be for Ford if they can get their debut victory with this Ford GT program. Knocked on the door of a podium in their WEC debut at Silverstone a few weeks ago. But the competitiveness this weekend has been at another level.
Coming up on 10 minutes to go. Are they going to be able to stretch the fuel, the two Fords and the number 3 Corvette?
That's right, the top 3 in this class right now, the 67, the 66, and the 3, all pitted on lap 26.
Curran got a run here if he could play it right, Cal. No, he had to check up a little bit. He wasn't sure, I don't think, that Westbrook was going to leave that door open.
Yeah, he's got to really play a game of chess here and think this one through in terms of where he may have an advantage over Goose. Goosens protects the inside line. Oh, Curran's got more mid-corner speed. He has got more grip in that Whelen Corvette. Can he make the move? I don't think he's going to go the long way around. Can he undercut him on the corner exit? Goose is a tough character. He is not going to make this easy.
It's this next corner where Curran just ramps through it so quickly.
He's really got to set him up, though. Hits the curb a little bit.
Yep.
That was not the ideal move, but maybe he can carry mid-corner speed through turn 6, that key corner on the run up the Rahal straightaway. Right here is where he needs to be on. A good exit there for Eric Curran.
Into the corkscrew. Not close enough this time.
From the aerial, what a view here. You plunge over that hill. You're literally running downhill. This is where Ricky Taylor made that move on Christian Fittipaldi through that fast left-hander, the rainy curve. You tuck it to the inside. Car compresses there right at apex on turn 10. Then it's hard on the binders, the brake pedal for this final turn. And then just try and find some traction late in the going with the tires being tortured here for a long run. Things are settled down a little bit.
On board with Goosens. He's definitely still protecting into the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, and I think that compromise of line is compromising his lap time at the same time. So I think if he can gap Eric by enough where he doesn't have to think about he's going to make a move to the inside, he may pick up a couple of tenths or so.
Boy, and that margin between Westbrook and Hand now is ballooned up to 6 seconds.
Yeah, I'd have to think it's either a massive fuel save where they're saying Joey not hitting the numbers or some kind of tire deck issue with Joey Hand for him to lose that much pace. He went from a 5-second lead to a 7-second deficit over his teammate, Richard Westbrook.
There's a look at the 55 of Bomarito. He just has not been able to do anything significant with that battle in front. And he's 21 seconds behind Curran and Goosens. That car just not turning the times we saw it turn earlier, Cal.
Let's have a look at this.
He's got an issue.
Oh, that was close. The Ferrari there trying to take evasive action and then just clip that little cheese wedge, as we called it, behind the rear wheel.
Yeah, something seriously wrong. I mean, we've been watching Bomarito's car, and he's been running 2 seconds or more off the pace, and there.
This will be a devastating blow to this whole group to come here. Their name title track. And suddenly on race day, it just comes apart a little bit. And I really felt the team was orchestrated enough, Greg, that they would have had a very strong race day, but just niggly little problems. The pit stop snafu with the refueler.
Yep.
And suddenly it's gotten away from them a little bit. That just shows you how tough these races are to win. Mike Schenk's been in this position a number of times where he's felt he's got the speed and pace of his race car, but just can't quite get to the checkered flag first. Similar deal for Mazda here today, it looks like.
For Garcia in the number 3 Corvette, look who's coming up. Line astern, the 68 Scuderia Corsa pole-sitting Ferrari in the hands of Alessandro Pirguidi. They stopped a lot later, and that car is seriously quicker right now than Garcia.
It is. The 68 car that we're now seeing in frame here, Pirguidi is the first of the teams in GTLM that have done 2 pit stops here today. So all 3 cars in front of him. The Corvette he's chasing right now, Garcia, then Hen, then Westbrook. They're all trying to stretch their fuel to do it on just 1 stop here. And we talked about one of the keys to the race. Don't be fuelish, but don't be stupid either in terms of trying to make something happen that simply cannot.
Boy, and you have to wonder, with the pace that we've seen from this 68 Scuderia Corsa 488, do they decide to run a few more races? They are seriously quick, particularly on this type of track as he's coming after the number 3.
Hearing some radio traffic that the 66 car with just under 6 minutes to go may have to hit pit lane for a splash. So JB, what are you hearing down there in the Ford camp?
Well, no, they are in, Calvin. The 66 came in literally, that is 2 seconds of fuel, Calvin. As they make the perfect stop, the pressure was on that refueler at that pit stop.
And that has to be why Joey Hand lost so much pace. Has to be. Obviously, he was saying you're not hitting the fuel number, Joey. You got to back out of it. Otherwise, you're going to have to hit pit lane. And it didn't work either way. In some respects, if it was what he was doing, he'd have been better to stay in the gas, try and stretch a bit more of a gap, and maybe come out in a slightly better track position. So it's all gone wrong for the 66. Now the question is, can the 67 hang on?
Yeah, and it looks as though, well, I'm going to have to see. I think he got out in front still of Garcia and Pirguidi. So whether Joey can manage that, here is the battle between Ali Gavin and a fast closing number 911, I believe, of Patrick Pellet. They've been on the kind of the yo-yo ride today.
Gavin's certainly feeling the pressure, and Porsche versus Corvette. Could we see any more? What do you get when you mix yellow and white anyway? What color does it come out as?
A lighter yellow?
It's been a different race to what I expected. I mean, really been some curveballs here in terms of strategy, the yellows, the incidents. It's essentially an all-pro driver lineup throughout this field here today in both classes. Yet we're seeing some incidents that we didn't quite expect.
At all. 4 minutes to go.
Joey Hand's lights on the car show him in the 4th position with that pit stop.
Yeah.
And he's going to feel a little bit of heat, I think, from behind, from I think it's Fisichella. It's going to be in his mirrors as well. So we'll have to see if Joey can pick up the pace now he's got some fuel on board.
Yeah, Fisichella right there.
Joey's fighting rear tire deck at the same time. You see him there a little bit squirrely, trying to get the power down. As we look at his teammate, Richard Westbrook. What a day it could be for Ford.
Boy, it showed the speed all weekend long. And then it might just come down to that execution we were talking about in terms of a fuel strategy.
Look at that, 48 laps since his pit stop.
Unbelievable.
And it's basically a minute and a third. It's about 64 minutes there. With about 4 minutes to run, and that's about 5 minutes outside their pit window that they told me this morning that they could achieve. So great job by the team if they can squeak him home, and by Richard Westbrook in terms of saving fuel early in the run.
Well, I'll tell you, if they pull it off, clearly there's some serious eco in that boost here. No question about it. Brian Till, what's up with the Corvettes?
Well, Doug Feehan, I checked with him just moments ago, and I said, does the 3 actually make fuel? And he says, well, we have won the Green Challenge before. How close is it going to be, Doug? He goes, very close indeed. So it may not be just the 66 that has the problems. The question is, can the 3 make it to the flag?
Well, we've seen it so many times here at this racetrack in terms of fuel, and is downhill from the corkscrew. But you do have a slight climb to the finish line as well, so you can't exactly coast at home. But I think this may explain the scenario a little bit where we saw Joey Hand stretch the margin over Westbrook early in the stint. Maybe his engineer on the 67 for Westy was just saying, you got to save fuel now if we're going to try and get to the checkered flag without hitting pit lane again. And maybe he did enough early in the run to be in position to do just that.
Yeah, one Spencer Pumpelly could tell you all you need to know about that risk, don't he?
Look forward to that GTD battle a bit later this afternoon. It's going to be a great race.
Boy, Curran hunting again.
Oh, he's pushing hard. He is pushing hard. He has got more speed in his Whelen Corvette than the Goose has at the moment.
We're getting a report anticipating Osnegri to pick up the white flag next time by. That margin 30 seconds right now over these two.
Remember, one of the keys to victory, though, Greg, keep your eyes on the prize, and that's the championship. One position here will only gain you 2 points. If you end up in the gravel trap, suddenly you let the 10 and the 5 car back in on a day where they haven't had a good one.
Oh, we hear the number 3 Corvette maybe on pit road as Osnegri onto the front straight. White flag flies. 1 lap to go here. The Continental Tire Monterey Grand Prix powered by Mazda, and it is Negri on his final lap, Cal.
Well, it's just been serene, and I think the real key was that car come to life early in the stint. Mike Shank told me, he said, we've been working really hard to get these front tires up to temperature early in the run, and Negri had pace, he had speed right after the restarts, Greg.
Well, you know what? I mean, John Pugh has had some tough moments earlier in this season, but boy, he was brilliant, really, in the opening stint he put in, too.
He was, and it's going to be a big couple of months of Mike Shank Racing. They're not going to compete at Detroit as they prepare for Le Mans, where they're going to run with Oak Racing with one of their Ligier chassis. And they're going to go over, do some testing. But here's Westy. He's going to have 1 more lap to go. Does he have enough fuel in this 67 car to get his first victory for Chip Ganassi Racing and Ford?
Well, if they do, what a tune-up for them going to Le Mans on a very special anniversary for that event.
And have 4 cars competing there.
Unbelievable.
Celebrating the 50th anniversary of their brilliant win back in '66.
And here we go. The number 60, Osnegri. Final corner onto the front straight. Mike Shank Racing, Honda and Ligier win it at Monterey. What a race. And look at that. The heart can stop trying to pop out of Mike's chest. It can calm down just a little bit.
Wow, congratulations
Phenomenal.
to that man and that whole group. They worked so hard. This is a big, big win for that team.
And
awesome
now,
stuff.
That is your leader in GT Le Mans, the number 67, the Ford GT. And here we go. Curran not quite able to do it. An amazing rebound for the number 90 Visit Florida Corvette DP team, Cal, to bring it home in second. Again, we just wouldn't have thought that. And Curran and Cameron, big picture view.
Yeah, they'll have the championship lead here tonight. Now the only question mark left is, does the 67 car have enough fuel in the tank to get Westy to the line and get their first win of the year? What a story this is as they head into the month of June and Le Mans.
And he heads into the final turn, turn 11, onto the front straight, gently rolls into the throttle, and here it is, the first win, the Ford GT at Monterey, bringing it home with a great win, a strategy play, and great speed. And we've seen the speed before, but today, Cal, it came together.
It really did. There you can see Mike Hull up there, general manager for the whole Ganassi organization, and he would have been a key player in that, but great call in terms of getting the fuel save done early in the run and gets Westbrook and Ryan Briscoe their first win on the year.
And Pierre Guidi able to come through for a second place finish. Makovecki third. Garcia did pit late, and Mike Shank delighted. And we're going to hear from his driver when we come back. An incredibly emotional moment down in Victory Circle as Osnegri crawls out from behind the wheel of the number 60 Mike Shank Racing Ligier Honda. First win for this team since the Rolex 24 in 2012. And what a moment for them down in Victory Circle. Hugs all around. Mike Shank can't stand it.
Cool.
He's got to get up there and stand on the side of that car. They're enjoying the moment. Brian, you're right in the middle of it.
Oh, yeah, they're enjoying the moment. Osnegri, congratulations, congratulations. January 2012. It's the last time this car was in, or this team was in victory lane, and I know that was a very special win for you guys, considering A.J. Allmendinger and certainly Justin Wilson in the car. How special is this victory today, as hard as this team has worked?
Man, this is absolutely fantastic. It's one of, I would say, my best races. I pushed as hard as I could since the beginning. I went for it every single hole I saw. We needed to have a lot of commitment to be up front, and I brought it with me today. The team did just a fantastic job with the car. Continental tires were awesome all throughout the race. We changed only two tires, and the car was hooked up. Thank you, HPD Honda, for all the hard work they've been doing with us, and my mate John Pugh.
Yeah, John, you did a spectacular job early on, and I know Mike Shank said his heart was jumping out of his chest. What was yours like with a few minutes to go?
My stint, well, the car was a little bit loose. I'm thinking, Ozzy's going to love this car, and he sure did. It's like a go-kart for him. This guy is one of the hardest working race car drivers I know. I really appreciate being. I'm so lucky to have Oz as a co-driver. Fantastic man and fantastic team. Very lucky.
Congratulations on the victory, and like I said, guys, you can feel the emotion down here, and why not?
Absolutely. It's the first win for the team with Honda power as well. But now, Cal, our Audi move of the race, and it was a beautiful pass that Oz put on for the lead.
Well, he said for every gap he went for it, and this is right here, down into the hairpin. He looks at the inside, just huge commitment there, late on the brakes. He takes the lead.
And at the end, from there, he pedaled it out to 30 seconds. Phenomenal run. We'll be back with more from Monterey. Welcome back to the Continental Tire Monterey Grand Prix, powered by Mazda. As things have settled in here and we are settling into Victory Circle, we're going to take a look now at our BMW race results. And there you see it, the number 60, the win over Goossens and Dial, and that great battle they had with the number 31. But Westbrook and Briscoe, first win for the Ford, Cal. That's huge.
It is huge, and disappointing day for Mazda. I mean, they'd shown so much strength here this weekend. It just went wrong for them in race conditions.
So we're going to head down to Justin Bell, who is with our winning drivers. JB?
Yeah, and what a weekend. Ryan Briscoe, Richard Westbrook. Richie, you just got out of the car. I mean, it was a hard-fought race, but I don't know if anyone, what you expected, but how nice to have a win this early in the season.
Amazing, and something that we didn't expect. And, a result that the crew thoroughly deserved. The 3 or 4 months that they've been slugging away, getting us to where we are now. I mean, that's for them. It really is. And, last race before Le Mans, so nice timing as well.
How long, Ryan, you're watching there. Obviously, the fuel was a big issue. You were saving fuel all the way right to the end, I imagine. But for you, just as nail-biting.
It was. I mean, honestly, it was a fuel-saving race from the start because we wanted to do it on one stop. But when he got in, we were definitely out of the window. And the numbers he was making was just unbelievable. I never thought we'd be able to do that. And I think it actually helped look after the tyres, and his pace was just as good as anyone's at the end. So phenomenal result.
Brilliant. Of course, Le Mans next. I'm going to quickly spin around a man who this is not a logo, it's a monogram. Henry, lovely to see you. You've been here all weekend in the pit box. Yes. Great result for the family and for the company.
Yeah, well, just fantastic. I mean, those last couple laps, my hand was shaking. I think I was so nervous. But great race. Team did a phenomenal job. We're so excited. We're thrilled. Great day for Ford.
Brian, everyone is excited here. What have you got now?
Mark Goossens, spectacular job. And you think about what happened with this Visit Florida team all week long. The car doesn't work very well. The start from pit lane, the penalty. At what point in time during the race did you think we actually are in this, or did the team ever think we're out of it?
Well, it's hard to say because there was obviously a lot of events during the race. We had to start from pit lane, had to drive through. Obviously, that first yellow came as a present from heaven there. So that was great for us. But then, I think, we had the opportunity to put other tires on because we started from pit lane. That helped Ryan's pace in the beginning. But, to see that even though the others were fighting and that he was on better tires, we saw that he wasn't that far off as what we were in practice. So, it was pretty much clear straight away that we had more for them during the race than what we had in the practice sessions. But, this outcome, I mean, if you guys would have told me this prior to the race, I probably would have left the track. But, It's awesome. I mean, at the end, it had to be like a very defensive role that I had to play there to keep the 31 behind me, because I think we pitted like 5 or 6 laps before them to get some tires. We only took one side, so it was a handful to keep the car on track. But on the other hand, I kept a good eye on the mirror, and I kind of felt in control over the 31. It was just trying to keep that pace going, and I think we did well there.
Congratulations, great run by the 90 guys.
Yeah, they definitely did a great run. Interesting what Briscoe said about conserving fuel helps tires.
It really does. You're not on the power as hard. Coming off the corners, it saves tire deg at the same time. Put Westy in the catbird seat there. What a performance by that driving duo.
Yeah, for Westy's second straight win here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, winning DP last year. Pretty phenomenal stuff. Next round of the championships, well, is the Glen for the GTLM car, Detroit for the prototypes. Make sure you tune in, and we'll see you later this afternoon on Fox Sports 2 for the second of the races. Stay put. We'll see you in a few hours.